Hello, this is Ivan Richmond. Welcome back to the Religion of Good video channel. Today I want to talk about shame, because shame is, quite honestly, in my opinion, the most useless emotion. But it's this emotion that's just creepy because it gets inside of us. It's the wolves in sheep's clothing of emotions. The reason is that I believe that when people are really spiritual, truly in touch with the good, not perfectly, not 100%, but truly on their spiritual journey, that's a journey of expansiveness, expanding beyond ourselves to other people, to all sentient beings, to the cosmos. And shame, when you shame somebody else, that's basically a contracting of their spirituality. Or if they go along with it, instead of contracting of their spirituality. In other words, what I'm saying is that you're basically asking somebody to replace their own spiritual understanding of the good that comes from expansiveness with an artificial, socially imposed, fake ethos, a pseudo-ethos that is coming from society, or from you, or from a cult leader, or something like that. And it's all kind of cultish to some extent, because when we shame other people, that comes from a place of self-righteousness. And often, I think, from a place of internal shame. Oftentimes, I think we shame others because we've been shamed ourselves, or we shame others because others shamed us, or we internalized that, or something. And we're trying to play this game of King of the Hill, or Queen of the Hill, or Monarch of the Hill, whatever we're calling that these days, to get up to this place of, like, if you could be the shamer instead of the shamed, then you sort of don't feel so bad about yourself. You can sort of feel on top of things. But it's all fake. It's just a huge illusion, because the truth is that it's coming from this place of artificial ethos. So, think about, would it make a difference whether, say, the Nazis shamed you, like Nazi Germany in the late 30s, the Nazis are shaming you, at a Nazi rally? Would that change your perspective on shame? I think it would. In where I live, we say, if everybody jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge, would you? Shaming is basically saying, you're a terrible person. You're a terrible person. And shaming yourself is saying, I'm a terrible person. But it's imposing this kind of societal thing. It's saying, you should feel bad because I think you're a bad person, not because of what's, some sort of real truth or spiritual truth, their spiritual validity to their experience. So when we shame others or shame ourselves, we take our spirituality and turn it on its head. We have this experience, rather than of expansiveness, of contracting our sense of spirituality, our true spirituality in clothes, and becomes replaced by this fake, almost cultish conception. Now, it doesn't actually really matter whether or not you're shaming somebody or shaming yourself over a legitimate moral or virtue. The fact of the matter is that we're coming from a place of self-righteousness, a place of saying, we know better. If we're shaming somebody else, we know better. And self-righteousness isn't good. I mean, we have to be really firm in ourselves, look at our own goodness. And when we're shaming ourselves, we're adopting somebody else's self-righteousness. and allowing their self-righteousness to run us rather than getting into an authentic understanding of goodness. So what I think is that responsibility is the cure. Responsibility is a very good emotion. It's a very good practice, whatever that is. A very good way of being, because responsibility does something very different. It says, first of all, I am going to connect with my sense of spiritual expansiveness, with my sense of what I think it means to be good, and I'm going to take responsibility for myself. I'm going to start with me, not be self-righteous, not push that on other people, but start out with me and be a good person. And that means two things. Number one, it means that when we go through life and do actions or whatever, we try to plan ahead and try to think through what might be good, what might be bad, and do what's good and don't do what's bad. But number two, it means that when we mess up, and we all do because we're imperfect beings, then we take responsibility for having messed up. We apologize, we clean up our mess, we try to make things right. And if we can't make things right, we at least say, hey, you know what, I did something wrong, it was the wrong thing to do, and going forward I'm going to do better. And you say that to others as well as to yourself. It's a very honest kind of a thing that comes from a place of an authentic sense of spirituality and goodness, because it's coming from your own personal conception of what it means to be good, that comes from that expansive process of spirituality, rather than from this artificial thing of somebody telling you from the outside, you're a terrible person. I don't think we do a very good job of being good people when we tell ourselves that we're terrible. I think, in fact, we do bad, because I think when we tell ourselves that we're terrible people, or internalize somebody else telling us that we're a terrible person, we kind of go, okay, well, if I'm a terrible person, why not just, be terrible? Shame kind of tells us that we cannot be good, and or that we cannot be good unless we not be good unless we bow to this almost cultish, artificial notion of pseudo-goodness. But responsibility starts with our own personal ethics, and proceeds with actually living that ethics in an imperfect way, as I've said. So that we're always in a cycle of responsibility. When we're in a good cycle of responsibility, then we are constantly living that spiritual life. We are constantly engaged. We're too busy being responsible to tear ourselves up inside the way shame does. We don't want to tear ourselves up inside. We're important. I mean, being good means contributing to humanity. We are important contributors, right? So we want to contribute to humanity. We want to do a good job, and doing a good job means being in a good place. Means feeling good about ourselves and feeling confident that we can do a good job. Confident because we're responsible. See? And this is the real hard part. Here's the trap, all right? Is that once we realize this, our first impulse, because we've spent so much time shaming ourselves or shaming others, or both, is to shame ourselves for shaming others, and shame ourselves for shaming ourselves. And we fail to break the cycle and get into a place of responsibility because we're so busy with all this shame stuff. So I'm going to ask all of you and myself, stop shaming yourself, stop shaming others, and instead be responsible, because responsibility means just admitting you made a mistake and moving forward confidently and saying, okay, hey, you know what, I made a mistake, I messed up, From now on, I'm going to do better. And then doing better. You know, and so if we can break out of that and say, okay, I'm not going to shame myself for shaming myself, you know, then we can finally get into that good place of responsibility. So, so I'm going to say to whoever needs to hear it, including to myself, I apologize for anybody that I have shamed in my life, including myself, which I know I've done to myself plenty of times. And I'm going to invite anybody listening to this video to do the same. I think it's good to do that, to start taking responsibility. But now that I've done that, I am free. You know, I have gotten that burden off of my shoulders. I have taken responsibility. I've learned from my mistake. I'm going forward. I'm going to do better. And I think that you'll find that you can do the same, that you'll feel a weight lift off your shoulders when you do the same thing. And get on with that glorious expansion of your consciousness into a spiritual sense of goodness. All right. That's all I have to say about this right now. And so blessings to all of you out there. Peace. And talk to you next time.